In this set of videos, we'll be looking at some of the moral, social and ethical issues that surround computing in the modern world, both in terms of the great benefits technology brings and some of the problems and issues it now presents. In this video, we're going to be looking at software and algorithms' embedded moral and cultural values, and the issues of computing size and scale and the responsibilities of computer scientists and software engineers. So, first of all, let's talk about how software and their algorithms embed moral and cultural values. Well, first of all, what do we actually mean by moral and cultural values? Well, you can think of these as the attitudes which reflect the culture and identity of a country. So, for example, British culture and moral values can be summed up, for example, as acting fairly and justly, the respect for the right of freedom of expression, the respect for the rule of law, the respect for the democratic process, the respect for a free press, etc., etc. Different countries, of course, have different sets of moral and cultural values. Now, it can be hard to get your head around this idea that software and the algorithms they use could somehow embed moral and cultural values into a society which don't currently exist there. There are, however, some excellent case studies that demonstrate just this. And this is no more true than the case study we're about to look at of social media usage. Social media tends to enshrine typical democratic Western principles, those of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the right to protest in an orderly manner. If you look at some statistics here, back in 2015, over 3 billion people were determined to have active internet use. 2.08 billion were active on social media accounts of one form or another. 29% of the population of most countries were using social media, with 23% able to access them on the go from their phones. This had a great effect in Egypt in 2011 and onwards. And we're going to look at the social media revolution here. So on the 6th of June 2010, Khalid Mohammed Saeed was beaten to death in the street by police officers. This was filmed and this video quickly went viral on the internet. By the 6th of February 2011, a Facebook page was started called We Are Khalid Saeed. Over 400,000 followers shared these images on the internet. On the 25th of January 2011, the Facebook page called for a day of protest at Tahrir Square in Cairo. Over 1 million Egyptians turned up to protest on this day. The hashtag #Jan25 emerged on Twitter to help support the cause. On the 26th of January 2011, in a response to this social media outcry, the government shut down Egypt's internet. In a revolutionary move, Twitter launched a speak-to-tweet service. Egyptians could simply call a number, leave a message, and it would then be tweeted automatically with the hashtag Egypt. People also started calling friends outside of Egypt to place tweets and other social media posts on their behalf. In response to this, the government shut down the cellular phone service across the country. But the move was already well underway, and by the 11th of February 2011, Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak was driven from office after 30 years in power. Let's take a look now at the responsibilities of computer scientists and software engineers, and the fact that they have ability to do great good and cause great harm. Most of the technology giants today make use of something called hyperscale computing. Now, it allows these companies to easily extract personal data from massive data sets. This is something known as big data, and we're covering in a later topic. The ability to easily extract personal information from data obviously can be used for the great benefit of society. It obviously, though, also has the potential to be misused. It can be used for unsolicited advertising, for social discrimination. And we're relying on the tech giants to use our data in the most part in an ethical and moral way. There was a New York Times article back in 2010 that coined the phrase, "The web means the end of forgetting." We have a great freedom to post, upload and contribute to the online world, and it can be done by almost anybody, anywhere, at any time. There is obviously a big difference, though, between you filming a video of yourself and uploading it to YouTube, and somebody else taking a video, even if you are accidentally caught in it, and then uploading it to YouTube. Within minutes, this footage of you is available from around the world. Even if you discover it, get it removed, there's no guarantee it won't have been copied, shared, or downloaded. There is a great fear now that the mistakes of youth stay with you into adulthood. Something which you did maybe when you were possibly younger and irresponsible and more carefree is now being searched for and found by a potential employee when they do a social media search on you. Is there a responsibility of these tech giants to help protect you and your privacy? Well, there's been several moves, especially in Europe, to help with this area. Back in 2006, Europe adopted the right to be forgotten, the idea that you could apply to tech giants such as Google and ask for pages that have been indexed to be removed if there's legitimate reason and the information was out of date. Much more recently, in 2018, the General Data Protection Regulation came into force across Europe, again giving individuals much more rights over their personal data and how it's used, accessed and shared by companies online. There is a moral and ethical responsibility as well for tech giants. They should have a responsibility to protect children from harm, to prevent the dissemination of fake news, and to prevent terrorist activities on their platforms. All of these topics are an area of current great debate, and many laws are currently being considered, debated, written and repurposed to decide how much responsibility tech giants should have over these areas and what governments can actually do to enforce it. We also have the concept that it's the responsibility of computer scientists and software engineers, and that their responsibilities are to make sure that the software they write does great good and not harm. A really good case study for this is what's known as the Tor Onion Browser. Now, this is a browser that was originally developed for the American military, and it allows for almost complete, non-traceable anonymity when you are using online activities. It's promoted as a great tool for good, of course, and indeed it is used by media and journalists to report from dangerous locations. It can be used for secure military communications, law enforcement. It can be used for families and friends for privacy and for protection of activist groups. Of course, this exact same software, which is being used for good, can also be used for great harm. There are lots of illegal activities that take place through the Tor browser. Least of all, the selling, dissemination of narcotics. And this brings us to another excellent area of debate, which is virtual currencies. Virtual currencies, like Bitcoin, which is the most famous, are a great example of computer scientists and software engineers creating something which has an ability to do great good, but at the same time has the potential to use great harm. The currency is totally virtual. It's hard to trace. It's not produced, owned, managed or controlled by any central government, Federal Reserve or Royal Mint. It essentially exists outside the law and jurisdiction of government's control. And as such, of course, it's one of the preferred currencies for use on the sites we just saw. Although not strictly in the specification, a fascinating area to end on is the concept that much of what you search on the internet is only what we call of the tip of the iceberg. You can think of all the information on the internet as being split up into this iceberg analogy. We have what's called the surface web, and that in essence is everything that you can search by your standard search engines. Anything that you can get to, from Google, Bing, Yahoo, everything from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram to Wikipedia to Amazon and all the other sites you visit are located on the surface web. What a lot of people don't realise is this typically accounts for probably way less than 10% of the actual content on the internet. When we dig a bit deeper, we have what's known as the deep web. This contains about 90 to 96% of the information on the internet, but it's not accessible by search engines. This stuff is by no means illegal, it's just not searchable from a standard search engine. It includes things like medical records, criminal records, private organisation repository, subscription, legal documents, academic information, multilingual databases, etc., etc. Further to this though, there's an area of the web known as the dark web. These are sections and pages on the web that are only accessible through certain special encrypted browsers, such as the Tor browser we mentioned earlier. A browser which proudly proclaims it can be used for much good, but as can be seen here, allows access to an area of the web where everything from illegal information, leaked materials, hiring of hitmen, drug sales and classified communications take place. As we can see, technology of course brings great benefits, but every time a software developer or engineer creates some software and algorithm, there are certain moral and ethical considerations that have to be taken into account. There is no easy answer in the days of the internet.